welcome back for another episode of Sportslandia, brought to you by Next Professional Athlete Recruiting Services. Brian Slyke, Ray Bradley here. We have a lot to break down. We had last week off, and a lot of things happened from the NFL with injuries, certain players, again, falling through.
Just the league.
Yeah, it was a rough one for him. The MLB Playoffs has gotten going, and some surprise teams already eliminated.
Yeah. Sounded like all the 100-win teams are already planning their vacations.
So is rest good? I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Longer regular season? Is that what we need?
I don't know. Yeah, is 162 really worth it? And then new Olympic sports coming up for the LA Games in 2028. They are adding flag football, squash, cricket, and a couple other ones. And then, of course, we've always got our fan favorite fantasy sandbag that we'll be talking about.
We do.
And then our nerd corner with Sir Raymundo Bradley.
Heavily teased. Here we go.
So let's get into the MLB playoff recap right now, Ray. I know.
Take me through it.
There were some interesting games that happened in the divisional round. Dodgers were a team that had over 100 wins. They ran away with the NL West. The Braves ran away with the NL East. Mm-hmm. And turns out both of those teams lost to the wildcard teams from their divisions in the first round.
Wow.
Dodgers got the full-on bye in that first wild card round that was going on. Same with the Baltimore Orioles, who were also another 100-win team that had a lot of hope going into it, but they got swept in the first round that they were in, and it was a poor showing for them. And so it sort of goes on to the, is rest good or bad when it comes to the MLB playoffs, because you get into such a groove when you're going through 162 and you get, one game off every, say, 15 days.
Yeah.
And your travel schedule kind of broken up in the playoffs as well. Usually you have two at home, then you have an off day, and then you go on the road. So my question is for you, is rest a curse?
It's the age-old question. I mean, there's been situations in the NFL as well where this has happened, where those teams get those byes, and it's a question of rust, like you get out of your game element, like you said, and the other team gets a week to kind of figure out what's working and pick it up and pick up some momentum into the next round, and then they come to see you, and you're just trying to remember how it was you played 2-3 weeks ago or whatever when you were still playing. No, it's still an excuse for me. I don't buy it.
Right.
If it was a single game like the NFL, I can understand it a little more. When it's a series like baseball or basketball, how many games do you need to remember how to play? Apparently more than 3.
Yeah. I mean, are you telling me that you're not picking up a bat or throwing bullpens or anything like that during that off time? I mean, there's still things you can do to keep your timing and all that stuff. I mean, you look at the two best hitters for the Dodgers, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman.
I had to say it.
I'm sorry. It's part of the story.
I thought I was prepared.
The arc of it all. 1 for 21, and their one hit in that series was an infield single by Freddie Freeman. So that tells you how far things really came for the Dodgers when those two were a 1-2 punch throughout the entire regular season.
Yeah.
With power, with speed, all of that. Good defense as well. Mm-hmm. But then you run into the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that at one point in the season was only a game back of the Dodgers. They put out that infamous meme of, it'd be a shame if you lost it. Reaching behind and trying to pull you in. Then after that, the Diamondbacks, ended up losing 8 out of their next 12 or something like that. Fell back in the division. But then kept it all together, though, enough to get into the wild card at the very end.
Well, they've got some hops on their team, I assume. So
11 hops.
Had to be a big piece of it coming from where we are.
I mean, they got the potential rookie of the year in Corbin Carroll. He's a speed demon and surprisingly a power bat for his stature.
Wow.
As a lefty guy.
That's quite the combo, yeah.
But, the Diamondbacks, I think they're just too young. And I say that in a way of just we don't know how good we are yet at the moment.
Yeah,
and
the ceiling hasn't been put on them yet.
Exactly. So it's just kind of we're gonna mess around, see what happens. And it turned out great for them because they beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, look what happened.
And beat the doors off of them, too. I mean, Kershaw didn't even get out of the first inning, which I guess isn't too big of a surprise since it's October Kershaw has never been fantastic.
Even I'm aware of that kind of history.
And it just goes to show that the Dodgers can only win World Series when it's 60-game seasons and no fans in the stands.
It's the Laker bubble championship issue. You won the championship as the bubble champion. I don't know, so
yeah,
it's a question that has to be asked. But yeah, it's the real question is the rust of the rest versus getting through that first round. Mm-hmm. I'll always take getting through that first round. And like I said, it's in a series. You should be if they really surprise you in that first game and you're not ready. Okay, I understand, but that you've got chances to pick yourself back up. So at a certain point, especially with these series, the best team usually kind of ends up winning, or the hottest team. I guess. Yeah, kind of can go either way in the postseason.
And then for the Dodgers, I mean, you're one of the wealthiest franchises. You spent the most money on your payroll.
Yeah.
And you fall flat when it matters most. And then you look at the other series in the NL. It was Phillies versus Braves, and the Braves were arguably the most impressive offensive team we've seen in probably the last 30 years.
Wow.
At least. Both with their power numbers. You had 4 or 5 different guys hit over 30 home runs this year, which is almost unheard of.
Holy moly.
And they, too, fell flat against the Phillies. Another team that was a wild card team that got their way in. And, Harper, Schwarber, Trey Turner, all these guys are showing up. And, I was listening to another podcast.
Whoa.
Not to plug anybody, no
Shout
plugging.
out. Oh, my gosh.
But they talked about, how do you win these games? It's pitching and then power. That's a lot of how these teams are winning games. And I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're in the LCS rounds right now.
Sure.
But, the Phillies just jumped all over the Diamondbacks yesterday. They had 4 home runs. They won 10-0.
Holy
including
cow.
2 home runs in the first inning. So, you get that momentum early. You show that power.
The bats are hot.
Exactly. So, there's a lot going into it, but I think it does show that it's not just good defense, but your pitching's going to need to be top-notch.
Yep.
And you have to have the guys that are going to produce at the plate. Hitting home runs and driving guys in, and you can't play small ball when it comes to the playoffs. It just doesn't really work out that way.
Yeah, too many rounds, too many different teams and situations you have to face. Got to be well-rounded. Now, some of the extracurriculars that I saw from this series were some of the Bryce Harper things that were going on.
Yeah, for the Braves.
As far as some potential stare downs I may have seen.
Well, there's a little bit of a backstory there. Apparently, there was an uncredentialed person that was in the clubhouse for the Braves.
This was kind of my question. Was a lot of this came into like the sanctity of the clubhouse, and some words got out that he maybe said about Harper that got back to Harper, and this is absolutely crazy within the baseball realm to do this. So I was kind of curious to pick your brain on some of those things because I love the stare down. That just makes it fun.
Well, yeah,
as a
absolutely. That's the one thing I got to say about baseball is let the guys have some fun. Let them do their things, do a little bit of taunting. Obviously, you can't let it get too far, but you don't need a Tim Anderson situation trying to square up and punch somebody and then get knocked out.
Sure,
but
that's where I'll draw the line.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line there. But with the whole Harper situation, so an uncredentialed person was in the locker room, overheard Arcia say these things, and then put that out there. I believe it was on social media.
Sure.
And
the world we live in.
Yep. And basically, a lot of guys in the Braves clubhouse were not happy with that, feeling like you lost the sanctity of the clubhouse where you should be able to say just about anything. But at the same time, you had media personnel in there.
It's a little rich.
The other situation was this guy didn't necessarily see Arceus say these words. He just heard things that were said.
Sure.
So, the quote could have been taken out of context in that situation. But, you've got media in there. What do you think is going to happen?
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel about it. If you really don't want anything to get out there, then don't say anything while the media has their availability to you.
Yeah.
If you want to say that type of stuff when you're out to dinner afterwards and there's no cameras around, nobody's got a microphone, go for it.
Next day of training or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Next day
chance.
at the ballpark, before the game, during BP, whatever it is. But the fact that you got up into a stink because you said something while there was media and cameras around, I feel like that kind of falls on you.
Yeah, plus it's the age-old, you let Bryce Harper get the hits on you. At that point, it doesn't really matter what you said.
Right.
They're scoring runs. It's just so That was some of the stuff I loved from that series that added some fun to it, some extracurriculars.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And I think it's great to have Harper get this far into the playoffs. Like last year, he got hurt.
Sure.
And you're seeing, and also who doesn't love Nick Castellanos and his timely home runs as well.
Yeah.
The Phillies team is just like fun. They're fun to watch. There's a good group of people on that team. Not that I'm a Phillies fan in any way, but they're like I'm a Kyle Schwarber fan, so seeing him do his thing for the Phillies, I think is great.
Yeah.
They're kind of feel like they're the team to sort of beat right now.
Certainly looking at this bracket, they're certainly rolling. So we've got 2 teams up 2-0.
Yep, that's correct.
Going to the World
in the
Series.
ALCS, it is the Rangers and the Astros. Rangers are still in search of their first ever World Series title.
So Meanwhile, all Texas over there, huh?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Astros have made 7 straight ALCSs.
Holy moly!
So my question for you:
how many of those were trash can related?
Just the first couple.
Oh, God.
And that's where I was leading into.
Yeah.
Is this team just good? Does the fact that they got caught cheating kind of take away from how good they are now and their consistency? It feels like they really didn't need the trash can situation.
No.
To be this good and consistent.
Yeah.
Yet they still did it.
They still did it. They're trying to find an edge. And, I'll try to walk the line as a Patriots fan. This is starting to sound, I don't like to get into those discussions, but there are some familiarities to these 2 storylines, I will say.
Taking practices.
So, did you need to do it? You would have won anyway. I don't know. So, I don't want to get into all that. But, if you keep producing after something like that has happened and everybody has turned on you. And
you've won a World Series since then.
It's kind of hard to argue with. This was the Brady Deflategate revenge season in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather not, attach my Patriots to this Astros team, although there are some similarities, I'll say. But, even I hate to say it, it's fun to root against them when you hear something like that from an outside perspective. But if they keep producing at a certain point, you do kind of have to tip your cap to them.
Yeah, I was going to say 7 straight ALCSs. 7 times you're in the final 4 teams to try to win a World Series. You're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you look at the players who are on that roster now, like there's only a couple people who were a part of that are still on that team. Altuve obviously is there. And, and that's... kind of the main instigator, because he was the guy who possibly had the buzzer on him and all that other stuff.
The whole side thing. Yep.
But for the most part, it's impressive what the Astros have done, and I think you're sort of far enough removed now from the trash can situation that I think you just have to respect might not be the word, but you have to acknowledge that this is just a good team.
You do have to.
That being said, they're down 2-0.
They are
to the Texas Rangers
right now.
You
don't hate to see that.
I think everybody in the baseball community is probably happy about that, just because of the longevity the longevity that the Astros have had in their success, and seeing the Rangers good since like Josh Hamilton. Remember when he was with them and hitting dingers and had them in the World Series? The Rangers, don't forget, they were a strike away from winning the World Series against the Cardinals back in the mid-2000s. Twice, by the way, and David Freese came through with a couple of big hits both times. And so seeing the Rangers get there, Scherzer is coming back from injury.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's necessarily going to be your bona fide number 1 pitching option, but he's a guy that maybe you bring him out of the pen right now.
Sure.
Because he's been dealing with that injury. Jordan Montgomery, who was a trade deadline pickup from the New York Yankees, a team that was just awful this year.
Love to hear that.
And the Yankees, a team that struggled against the Astros, and you trade 2 arms to the Rangers, and both arms have gotten wins or have pitched well against the Astros in this series. So if you're a Yankees fan, you're like, well, why couldn't we get that type of production?
Why not us?
In which case, I'll say I've got no sympathy for you. You're the Yankees, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I don't think anybody wants to see their success in any way.
No, they've had plenty.
Yeah. Predictions for the rest of the ALCS, and then we'll jump into the NLCS.
You want my prediction? Oh,
yeah, I want your non-baseball expertise prediction.
Well, based on this, one team's up 2-0. We'll have to see what the trash can situation is in Houston. I don't know. Maybe
we might start hearing some banging lately.
Who's what have these been 2 home games, 2 away games?
I believe these are 2 home games.
Okay. Feels like Philly's rolling.
No, they were away games.
Feels like they'll get there. So Texas won twice on the road?
Correct.
Oh, then It's hard not to pick that team at that point. Yeah, wild. I'm choosing the two teams who are both up 2-0. I know, it seems crazy, but it may just work.
Scherzer's actually expected to pitch in their next matchup today.
Ooh, put the vice grip on
which
him.
is the 18th of October as
that
we
is
record
today.
this.
All right, okay. Good to know.
We don't know when this episode comes out, you know. On the other side of the bracket, though, Phillies are up 2-0 over the Diamondbacks, and I think this is more of, we were just in the World Series last year. We know what we need to do to get there again.
They're rolling.
And the Diamondbacks are what we mentioned against, the Dodgers. Like, maybe they're just too young, and the inexperience is sort of playing against them now. It's sort of like the 2015 Cubs, where nobody expected them to do anything, and then the Cubs made it to the NLCS, and then they ran into the juggernaut that was the four great arms for the New York Mets in that NLCS, and then they got swept. So it's like a young team that is coming up that nobody had on their radar, really.
Yeah, that needs to stay hot to get these wins, and now they're down in this position. Don't have as many of those leaders who've been there before.
And they lost big in their last one. I mean, they lost 10-0 to the Phillies yesterday. Yeah. So that's kind of what we have going on in the MLB race. I'm hoping it's, I would love the Diamondbacks to get there just because, we work for the Hops and everything else like that, which is their single A, high A affiliate. But I think it's definitely going to be Rangers versus Phillies in this World Series.
It's certainly starting to lean that way. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it pans out. But yeah, all the big teams seem to be out, all the 100 wins teams. It's down to all the teams that got hot, which, could make for more fun.
Let's head over to the Olympic Village, shall we?
Yeah. They already built that thing?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it's LA. I'm sure they can get it done maybe decently fast.
That's true.
The 2028 Olympic Games announced that they will be adding multiple sports, flag football, which I think you and I are going to be pretty excited about. We'll go into a little bit of discussion about that.
That's the curious one to me of this list.
Yeah. Then you got squash, which very niche sport.
It's had to come up recently, it feels like. But yeah. Sort of a weird one.
And then you got cricket, which I feel like the United States has no chance of really meddling in because it's not our sport.
But internationally, it was like I was kind of shocked that wasn't already in there. It's such a big sport,
right? Especially
Europe and whatnot.
Yeah, Europe, Asia too. I mean, very very big over there. Like you look at India or Pakistan; those are big cricket countries.
Yeah, and I think you said that it had been there before. And
last time cricket was in the Olympics was 1900. When it was hosted by Paris.
Okay, so a little while ago.
Yeah, it's only over 100 years. No big deal.
That makes a lot of sense to come back.
And then
I won't be watching.
Yeah, I probably won't be.
Don't they last days?
Yeah, they can.
Games have lasted days.
They can. Not ideal.
No.
The next sport they're adding is lacrosse. It's making a comeback. The last time lacrosse was in the Olympics was 1908.
Wow.
So another one that was over 100 years.
Crazy. Were you using some rackets or something back then? Just full
wooden sticks.
Like, that's interesting. I'm curious how international that one will be. I don't know if that's more of an American thing or not. I'm not really sure.
Well, it was created by the indigenous people here, so that is an excellent question. I'm not sure how global reaching that is necessarily.
I don't either.
And
it's
then,
like similar to polo or something though. That's sort of
true. Yeah.
International. I don't know.
And then they'll be having baseball and softball back again. They were just in the 2020 Olympics.
Sure.
Which I think is great bringing those back because there was a run from the 92 Olympics, which I think was Atlanta. Or, no, it was Barcelona. 96 was Atlanta.
Okay.
And then in Sydney in 2000 and then 2004, I forget where it was. Maybe it was back in Greece, I think. But
sounds familiar.
You had 5 straight Olympics where you had baseball, softball, then they took it out after 2008. So you had 12, 16. So two Olympics without it for some reason.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had an idea of what the reasoning was there.
I don't know why they took that out. Maybe it was viewership related or...
And there are like other international baseball tournaments, right? Like
there's the World Baseball Classic, which we had this past year.
Yeah, that was when Trout and Ohtani were playing against each other. Okay.
But if you think about it like that, that's also sort of like the World Cup.
Yes.
You have the Olympics, which is great, and then like 2 years later you have the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later you're back at the Olympics
again.
They do
them all, yeah.
So like that's kind of what baseball's doing with the World Baseball Classic. Softball's also going to be in the Olympics this year.
No brainer. right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes the most
pretty
sense.
International sports.
You saw how many people were interested in the World Baseball Classic, specifically like
Yeah.
the U.S. Japan matchup. Ohtani, Trout was obviously a big storyline because they were teammates
Very
and all
cool.
that.
Very cool.
I think you're gonna get a lot of viewership from this, not just
for sure.
When I say locally, I mean the United States.
Yes.
In that aspect, like cricket, I don't know. Squash again is more of a niche sport.
Yeah.
I've seen the courts, seen some people play it, but I don't know how many eyes that's necessarily going to draw.
It's like the hipster sport nowadays, it feels like. And
yeah.
It's been gaining momentum, but I don't know how much it's quite there yet as far as numbers.
I think cricket, you'll get a few eyes just out of curiosity if you're not used to seeing it.
Are we specifically talking about American eyes, I guess, here? Because I think that one will be huge.
That one will be huge international-wise, yes.
But yeah, for us.
Stateside, you're going to get
it's
probably...
a curiosity.
Exactly.
Or if you're just like, baseball's not long and short enough, which is a take, cricket. I suppose. I kind of go the other direction with that, so I'm a little less likely, but it's there if you want it,
Yeah.
It's interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. All those make a lot of sense. The flag football one, I'm really curious as to how that was developed.
Mainly a United States push.
Sure. And I'm sure my idea is they were probably pushing football, maybe. And then everyone else was like, we don't need that kind of head injury, probably most likely.
Right, added games.
And so they settled for the flag football as maybe a tester or something. I'm not really sure.
Well, I think it's less demanding on the body, so you're going to have less injuries for people.
Exactly.
When you think about the United States, I mean, they have leagues now for flag football, especially in the youth area.
Yeah.
So you're going to get eyes looking at that. I mean, they're
still watchable.
You're looking at still very much watchable. I mean,
Same idea
I've watched
as made large football.
Like you watch the Ocho occasionally, and they'll have like the championship for flag football for the youth leagues or whatever, and it's still somewhat entertaining when 30-year-old man here watching flag football of 13, 14-year-olds.
Well, that kind of sparked a YouTube hole I fell down recently, which was the professional tag league.
Oh yeah,
which is pretty crazy to watch sometimes.
I feel like that'd be fun to
That would be great. Now. I'm not sure. It probably isn't an Olympics, or I would have heard about it by now. But
it's not in the Olympics.
To throw that in there is obviously just very accessible for every. It's just where's your quick guy? Put him over there. We'll put ours over here. Chaos ensues with jungle gyms in between.
It's like a mixture of parkour and tag.
Yeah, so that very much feels like the flag football thing. What would the player pool be for that? Are you taking Stephon Diggs
Parsons
and Josh
says
Allen?
He wants to participate in
that's what I mean.
The only reason why I think it's going to pick up steam internationally is because you look at the NFL and the way they've marketed themselves, say, playing games in Mexico City, playing games in London, playing games in Germany, and there was such a thing as NFL Europe. There are people who do pay attention to football there. There are professional leagues there. Mm-hmm. Granted, they're not the NFL. We all know that. But people are interested in it. It's a way to consume it and a way to possibly get your name out there in some type of way. But yeah, the talent pool. Are you going to let professionals play this? Defense is a little bit different, but your offensive skill guys, could you imagine Tyreek Hill matching up with Patrick Mahomes again?
Tyreek Hill without pads, somehow even faster.
He'll be hitting 25, dude.
And then everybody else is just grabbing
they're grabbing wings.
College kids or something who played football at one point in their life.
I suppose you could.
I don't know.
The way you could do it is just there is that international pool the NFL has now where they take guys from other countries and have them on their practice squad or bring them in for training camp and things like that.
Much more often nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. The NFL's done a good job of trying to promote that and make it more of a global game. I think this is just the next step for it. Yeah. Really. It's, like I said, easy on the body, so you're not going to get many injuries.
Yep.
It's easy to play, pretty easy to follow.
I imagine the numbers are... Is it probably going to be a 7-on-7?
That would be my guess.
Type thing.
7-on-7. You're not going to have really offensive linemen.
So is this a 5 alligator rule at the Olympics? Is there
5 alligator, 5 count?
Yeah, before you rush kind of thing. I mean,
the way this is gonna. So I do reffing at the Nike headquarters campus.
Oh, okay. So I came to the right guy.
Yeah, and we count up to 5, and on 5 it's just a sack.
Oh.
No rush. Cannot rush. But it very much is league to league dependent. Because like when I played in college, we could rush the quarterback. But as an offensive lineman, you couldn't put your hands on it. You had to like put your hands behind your back and make yourself big, step it away.
Lots of different kind of tweaks to it.
So like I could see it being just regular 7-on-7, or I could see it being like 9-on-9. You have like a center and one lineman, and then you've got like two people rushing in, or say your center goes out and you only have one offensive lineman. Who knows? Like it's really rules dependent. I don't think that's necessarily been fleshed out yet. They've got another 6 years or 5 years before 2028 comes around to get that done.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I'm curious to see how it goes.
Who would you have on your team?
Well, the Tyreek Hill with no pad speed is fascinating to me. That's pretty exciting. You want just the shiftiest guys, I guess, too, because you're just trying to avoid
getting tackled or
the
your
flag
flag
grabs,
ripped off.
keep them away, some distance between them.
Do we bring John Ross back?
Oh my God! Finally, John Ross, Justin Ross, McCole Hardman, all the random guys who ran flies for the Chiefs the last 5 years. Can just come in there and do this, and maybe it'll work out.
I'd love to see
better.
bringing back Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ooh. He would just sling it out there. Yeah. I'll tell you who I don't want is Devontae Parker. I don't want him on my flag football team because he can't catch with pads on even.
Well, that's true. But you could also go back to history or like family backgrounds for players.
Okay.
And like maybe they don't.
The fourth Gronk brother? Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is like Fitzpatrick heritage, Irish. Go play for the Irish team.
Oh, okay.
Instead of playing for the American team. How many quarterbacks can you actually carry?
Yeah, how many have some dual citizen? Can Kurt Warner be on the Canadian team because he played Canadian football back in the day?
But he's not Canadian. Though.
Well,
that's when you bring out Nathan Rourke, who's the backup in Jacksonville. Now that dude is a stud. He'd be pretty good.
Okay.
And the only reason why I know that is because that's Maxon right here, and he played at the University of Ohio. Ohio University, excuse me.
Okay. Be curious,
Like, I think you could have a lot of fun with it. And there are, like, a lot of Canadian players, too. I mean, that play in the NFL that you just don't even realize.
Yeah.
Obviously, being in the CFL, there's going to be guys where you have to have Canadian citizenship to play in that league. You can only have X amount of Americans play on your roster. It's like, I feel like there's almost endless possibilities where it's like, the roster's only 15 people. Well, my family heritage is X, Y, or Z. I'm gonna go over here. I mean, like
you can go back like 5 rungs on the family tree and hopefully figure it out.
Like you can do just about anything. So I think flag football will be interesting. It just really depends on how they break down those rules.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite part of it is the more I think about it, the more it sounds and looks like NFL Street 2.
Yeah.
As long as everyone is dressing like that and like jumping off walls and throwing stuff, I'll be happy.
Thoughts overall on all these sports that are being added?
I agree with all of them. No complaints.
You basically add sports.
I will not watch cricket though, but other people will, and that's why it's there.
That's your bold statement right there.
My bold statement. Unless it surpasses, and no hate on unless it surpasses figure skating as my go-to. Like this will put me in a nap Olympic sport, which is good. That's its own like plus. But right now, figure skating takes the lead on that. They got the nice soft music. People are just kind of jumping around, then you doze off.
But then cricket, he fell!
Yeah.
They fell!
And then you kind of, okay, no. But if cricket's going on for a day, like at some point we'll have to fall asleep. So
I mean, you got to have multiple games going at the same time in case you got these games overlapping in time. I mean, you basically add sports to the Olympics so to try to draw more viewership. I think people have been less and less interested in the Olympics outside of the major sports that draw eyes, like soccer usually brings in a big draw, hockey for the Winter Olympics.
Everyone has a couple of their favorites that they'll try to check out, but it's no longer like
appointment television.
No,
it just hasn't been.
It doesn't help. The last couple times has been weird tape delays that they can't figure out.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Events of, especially in the age of Twitter, you'll wake up. It's a bad habit. Most of us wake up.
Check Twitter.
Look at Twitter or whatever the thing is, and right away it's like, this, and this won gold, silver, and this in their events, and then it's like it'll be on tonight at 6. And it's like,
I already know.
Sports,
I already know
the answer.
it.
I can't. So if they can figure that out, I mean, I guess when we have it in LA, it'll be a little easier. For American viewers.
And like, what's the story? Like, Michael Phelps was appointment television at the time because it's like this guy can break the all-time medals record, like golds, things like that. Like Katie Ledecky is another amazing swimmer.
Yeah, if you're the greatest of the greats in your pool, it becomes like appointment.
Like
but...
Usain Bolt, I had to watch that guy run. I mean, he was just incredibly fast. He was so entertaining, and like the looking over, the tongue stick out, like he put on a show while just absolutely kicking the shit out of competition.
Yeah.
Because it's just that fast.
Here, the other idea they could do, we're spending so much time on the flag football thing, which I love. The other thing they could do is you have to just make your flag football team out of the other athletes in the Olympic Village.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
So then it's just like, here's your captain, you pick 7. It's like Katie Ledecky, Usain Bolt. Oh, I mean...
Usain Bolt would be on the Jamaican team.
Yes, yeah. You'd have to have them at least, nationality-wise, it would still light up and stuff, and then you could just pick people from different sports, and... Flag football is like, whatever. It's like, that's kind of what it's built for. It's backyard football. You're playing around doing stuff. Everyone there's an athlete with different kind of things and skills. That would actually be probably just as interesting as watching, Stephon Diggs and Patrick Mahomes
it almost becomes
destroy
like,
you.
Even though they're world-class athletes, it almost becomes in a sort of way, putting a pedestrian person out there at the Olympic level because that's not their normal sport.
Yes.
But they are world-class athletes.
And I think that would certainly be what's interesting to it is like, oh man, Usain Bolt's really good at running a fly, but he's got Devontae Parker hands. Like he cannot catch a single pass. Like just do some end arounds or something, just trying to get him the ball. It's one of those. Like I think that would be fascinating, but you got to find a good coach as well. We'll see where it lands. We've got a little bit of time.
Like I said, 5 years until the 2028 Olympics,
and we'll be talking about it every week up until then.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to create the perfect team.
We're gonna have to do a draft when that comes around. We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
Let's do let's move on to regular football.
Oh,
college slate.
They still do that?
Real thing with pads, helmets, concussions, all that stuff.
It's not as interesting.
Going
yeah.
Going into the Saturday football, one question I have for you is, are we kind of done with the Deion hype? Colorado blew a 29-point halftime lead to Stanford, who lost to Sacramento State this year.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to watch anything of Colorado football, it's going to be that Hunter kid who's playing both ways. That's about the only draw for me right now. And but like Colorado, I mean,
it certainly seems like this year it might not be happening.
Yeah, I think we got too excited about that ranked win over TCU week 1.
Yep.
Then you played a team in week 2 that was, not the best, but still beat them. Then you played Colorado State. But then you actually played good competition.
In a wild game, a fun game, so you can overlook however it didn't go right for them.
Exactly.
Then
so it's
Oregon game
I think that's where you saw the deficiency in that team still.
Yeah. They weren't quite ready for Oregon.
And USC, I mean, first half getting your doors blown off, and then the second half though they actually made a comeback.
Sure.
But it goes back to, well, you shouldn't have. If you were a good team, you wouldn't have had to make that big of a comeback in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think he'll immediately be able to leap to a new job now, it appears.
I don't think so.
So we're probably going to see him back there again. The rest of this year, they'll probably have some... They're a fun team to watch, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, the nature of college football, you lose 3 games or whatever, you're kind of out of it.
Yeah, you're not going to be in that Final Four contention. I guess at that point, you just want to play spoiler. That would be my...
Yeah.
If I was Colorado, that would be my role for this year. Obviously, I want to win as many games as possible. That's everybody's goal. But, I'm going to play spoiler.
Screw over the other teams in your division.
Do we play Washington? I want to be Washington.
There's some high-ranked teams in this division that's not going to exist next year. So.
And that brings up my next question. Is the Pac-12 the most entertaining conference in college football this year?
They're doing the Seinfeld. They're going out on top,
I mean, they've got 5 or 6 teams that were ranked in the top 25.
Yep.
You had a top 10 matchup with Oregon and Washington this past week.
It's going to be bittersweet if this is the Cinderella year and one of these Pac-12 teams gets all the way. Maybe they even win it all, and then it all is dissolved immediately after.
That would probably be the most picturesque ending for them, is say Washington goes undefeated, wins the national title for the last year that the Pac-12 is the Pac-12.
It encompasses the entire process and sequence of what has happened as the ups and the downs and the failures and... You get it, but what did it cost? It's the Thanos meme.
Yeah,
everything. Congratulations. Nobody has a conference anymore. You're take your volleyball team to Ohio to play in conference games next year or whatever. So I don't know. We said it last year. It's like, this could be a fun conference. It's a bummer that a lot of business reasons ended up making it so this is no longer going to be a thing, and the landscape's going to be totally different from here on out, which I don't know how I feel about. We'll have to see how it pans out.
Yeah. Part of the award, or the Pac-12, is a lot of these teams, there's not a super clear favorite.
No.
Out of all of them right now.
The Oregon-Washington game this week, it was like, even there was the upset, and Washington took it.
Which Danny Lanning kind of making a bonehead move, not going for 3 points at the end of the half.
So I was not totally paying attention to this game because I was working, but both of our coworkers, Jackson, went to Oregon.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "What happened in that game?" And he was grumbling. And the one feedback he had was, we just kept going for it on fourth down, and I don't know why. So it sounded like they're having some Brandon Staley type mentality issues or something.
Yeah, the point that I'm bringing up is at the end of the half, 4th and 2, I think at like the 3-yard line or something like that, as time is running out. You're not flipping the field if you don't get it.
Nope.
It's the end of the half. Get your points.
We learned that for watching the Giants.
Exactly. Get your points. And like, guess what? That game would be tied at the end.
Yeah.
And that kicker, wouldn't feel like a sack of crap after missing that game-tying field goal. Granted, he would have missed the game-winning field goal, but at least you still have a chance in OT. Like, you got to take the points at that point. Like, there's no going back. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yes, the analytics tell you to go for it when it's 4th and 2 and under, but not when it's not flipping the field.
Yeah, to go through that whole drive to end a half and to walk away with nothing is this analytics haven't quite figured out this. And I know they probably don't even acknowledge it exists. The momentum and the emotion of the game. It's like, those are real things for human beings playing the game in a non-simulation.
Yeah.
Which we may or may not be in. It's unclear.
We don't know.
So I can't even really say that. But this is an advanced simulation, if nothing else. So
the Matrix is real. Yes.
Who knows? So I don't know. It's college football.
It's so
keeps
fun.
rolling along.
I'm trying to remember the other.
Who's the Heisman favorite? Is it just Caleb Williams?
Well, I don't know. A lot of people don't think so after this past week against Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat USC by over 20 points.
Oh, did they? Wow. This is news to me.
Yeah. And so it was
up in the air.
Yeah, it really was. The other big shocking win was Washington State was running away from teams earlier this season.
Yeah, they've been ranked.
They are now 1-2 in conference after losing 44 to 44-6 to Arizona. Arizona's not a world beater of the Pac-12.
No.
And they just fell flat.
That's an ouch.
Yeah.
Now, I've been hearing a lot about the Washington quarterback.
Michael Penix,
as a potential another number one pick. Is this now a Heisman line?
He's definitely in line for the Heisman. It'll be Williams and Penix, and there'll be a couple other quarterbacks. Like
Drake May was a name.
Drake May. You could also be J.J. McCarthy. Brock Bowers, unfortunately, is no longer in the running because he's injured and will be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with an ankle injury.
Okay.
But USC, they're 6-1 right now, still undefeated in conference. So you can't overlook Caleb Williams. Obviously, he's a special talent. He won the Heisman last year, so he's still very much. He's still very much in contention.
When was the last back-to-back Heisman, or has that ever been a
Griffin,
thing?
Ohio State running back in the 70s.
Okay, I thought RG3 for a sec when you said that.
No.
But okay, so it has been a minute, and obviously, the bar's higher, a little tougher to pull those off.
74-75, Archie Griffin.
Okay. It's the reason Jokic didn't win MVP this last year. It's the voter fatigue. So,
which I think is such a load of crap. By the way,
it is and it isn't. It is.
He clearly is the most valuable player for his team. You think the Nuggets win the title without Jokic?
Well, no. And I specifically last year the Joel thing where it kind of felt like he just kept whining until they give it to him. He hit a game winner over Portland, who was deciding to tank, and I guess that was the deciding factor. Plus, there was a late game where they finally beat the Celtics, which they never do, and it was you get the MVP now because you beat them once. It's okay, well, they finished with a better record.
Yeah, so. This is just terrible. I never understood the whole MVP voting and voter fatigue and all that stuff. It's the best player.
Can't give it to Jordan again. He just won it 2 times or whatever.
Yeah, well, guess what? He's the best player on the frickin' planet.
Well, and now this year, Jokic is favored to win because he didn't win last year, which is the best thing that you can do as an MVP candidate, apparently.
Is lose the year before and then be primed to go again
him and Giannis are up there, but Joel Embiid's not going to win it again, that's for sure, even if he had a team around him. So, but yeah, there's a lot of those young quarterbacks, which I think is a good transition to the NFL and my horrible, terrible team, because I am now very more interested in all of these quarterbacks than I am this Patriots season. Like, all of those guys, I'm like, okay, which one can we get? How many can we lose? We're 1-4 or 1-5 maybe. I actually almost might have lost track of that. It's been so bad. Horrible losses the last couple of weeks. Pretended to be in the game this week versus the Raiders. Still lost. At this point, I'm just ready to lose as much as we can and hopefully get one of those quarterbacks, because unfortunately, as much as my fantasy season doesn't want to hear it, Mac Jones is not really even startable at this point.
Yeah.
I lost a week because I started him and he had -2.
Well, yeah, you tried to trade him to me, and that was my big. I don't want any of that.
Total fluke. He's good now, actually.
Yeah, no, he's actually pretty
good.
Look
at the first 3 weeks, not the last.
Well, don't look at this mock draft that I have right now, because currently the Patriots are picking 6th, and
who's above us? You and you.
Yep, you and you, as in the Bears. They've got picks 1 and 2, which they have Caleb Williams, and then they pick a defensive end from UCLA.
See, the good thing is you guys won't take 2 quarterbacks unless you trade one of those. But who are the other teams? So I think we could be worse than them.
The other teams...
We're probably going to be worse than the Bears, honestly.
Broncos, who are slated to pick a quarterback and pick Drake May.
So this is interesting because obviously they're terrible, and we're terrible. And we both, I heard this the other week, we both play on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, one of the two.
It's a terrible present for the world.
Well, whoever loses that will be in the lead for one of these quarterbacks, so I'm hoping that will be the present that I get.
So you want to lose that one?
I want to lose every game from here on out.
Okay.
If possible.
Well, as a Bears fan, that is possible. We've done that.
We already got our 1 win, so we can't do the winless year, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Then you got the Cardinals in front of you. They're selecting Marvin Harrison Jr.
No, they're definitely going to win more games than us.
And then especially they play hard.
Even with Dobbs, I think they would have, and now I don't know if it hurts or not, but Kyler's getting close to practicing, I was hearing this morning. So whether or not that helps them, I don't know. Maybe they ship him out this midseason and get some assets, but they're going to win more games than us. I would not be surprised.
And then the New York Giants pick 5th now.
They're going to win more games than us, for sure.
And they're picking Keon Coleman.
They have no incentive to lose.
Quinn Ewers is selected by Minnesota just behind the Patriots. Okay. If that intrigues you in any way. I don't know. This is a weird mock draft.
Weird one. I really think it'll probably be us. The Panthers-Bears picks will be up there. The Cardinals and Giants are going to end with better records than us. I'd probably end up guessing. The Broncos, Panthers, and Bears, I'm not sure. Those might be worse than us.
I definitely know the Bears are going to be worse. Well, we got our backup quarterback going now.
Well, he. Did you see his first play?
Yeah,
when he came in?
He got sacked. Actually, no, his first play was a 5-yard out completion.
Okay, maybe it wasn't the first play, I guess. Because when I turned it on and looked at him, he went back, ran in a circle, fell over, the ball went out, and they ran it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh my god, that's not how you started your career, is it? Which it sounds like thankfully it wasn't.
It was not. His first career play was a 5-yard out.
It's the opposite of the Matt Ryan start to his career, which I always remember. Do you remember that?
No.
He threw a 60-yard touchdown on his first snap.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. I think it was play action. He just rolls back, tosses it up, touchdown. And then it was oh, this guy's for real. So I always think about that, especially when the opposite happens, like what I thought that was, but. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys won more games than us, honestly.
Yeah, so in a different mock draft, this one's on CBS. They got Williams going to the Bears 1-1. Then they take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1-2, which I actually would love to have Marvin Harrison Jr.
Holy cow, what a 1-2.
Him and DJ Moore on the outsides.
Oh.
Drake May would go to the Broncos at pick 3.
And
they still have the Patriots taking a tackle.
At 4?
At 5.
No, we're taking a quarterback.
And
we don't have any tackles either, but I'd rather take a quarterback.
Yeah.
When this is the quarterback draft.
Because May gets taken by the Broncos in the 3rd, and it's.
How they gonna have to get rid of Russell though? That's a little harder for them. At least we can just
Can't
let
you
Mac
cut
go.
him? Just eat the money.
That's a lot of money you're eating. Is all I'm thinking. If his contract is that big.
If he's that bad, Sean Payton clearly does not like him.
Yeah,
that is if I could etch that in stone, it would be, because the tension between those two on the sideline after Russ makes a bad play or anything like that, like you could see Peyton seething with the way he looks at him, and it's not good.
No, it's the same way the other Peyton looks at him when he's watching him, Peyton Manning on their Manning cast.
Yeah.
Every time they make a terrible quarterback play on there, he just loses his mind and becomes so sad. It's always so funny. But yeah, I know our teams are going to be racing to the top. It seems like for the rest of the top of the bottom, I should say.
I hate that I am 6 weeks into the season and that's what I'm focusing on.
Well, yes.
Draft.
Well, you're going to have to help me through this because this is the first time this is the goal
in your life
this early that I've turned to this. So, and I'm full on. I'm like, let's
follow me. I'll teach you the way.
Yeah. Let's draft the tackle who won't pan out in the first round and then we'll do it all again. That does not entice me quite as much.
The other main story, it's just a bunch of injuries in the league right now in the NFL.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is one, dislocated his thumb, popped it back in, but can't grab a football.
Oh, so he's throwing hand?
Yeah.
Well,
so he's most likely out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Then you look at like the Colts. Richardson's going to be out for the year with that AC joint injury, which is not fun.
Yeah, he had a lot of trouble finishing games.
He played hard.
That I don't think he has finished a game.
No.
So
he hasn't.
That's not great. But yeah, very fun to watch. So it's a bummer that he's out for the year. It's a bummer that Gardner Minshew is stuck on the Colts, and he didn't play great last week. I still think he would be.
I think he's a very solid NFL quarterback.
I just think he would be great on a team that wants to win. On the Colts, I don't really see the point, and they'll lose most of their games probably anyways. They did weirdly get Jonathan Taylor back recently.
Zach Moss, baby, come on.
Decided to pay him. There's a lot of rumors it's because Jim Irsay's whale died, and he wasn't able.
And he didn't need to ship him across country.
That money was available now. Because I don't really get why else they paid him. Because Zach Moss has been doing everything that he's
running
done.
And he's catching balls out of the backfield.
And he's actually still doing it now that he's back. And it's like, so you saw this random rookie you pick up, or not rookie, random running back you pick up actually succeed in your offense and thought, man, we really just have to pay Jonathan Taylor. I don't totally understand how you connect those dots.
Exactly. It doesn't make a lot of sense for Indy the entire offseason being like, we're not going to pay you top dollar, and then once the season starts, when you have a running back who's producing for you, you go, you know what, we do need to pay that guy. No, you don't. Trade him.
I don't.
Get some assets back. You have a viable running back right now in Zach Moss. Now, I'm not sure how old Zach Moss is compared to...
It's probably similar. I mean, 24, 25. He was drafted by Buffalo only a couple years ago.
Zach Moss is 25.
Yeah. And maybe the only way I can kind of convince myself that they got to this line of thinking was that they saw Zach Moss succeeding and were like, well, imagine if we get Jonathan Taylor in here. He'll be rushing for 250 yards a season.
Taylor's 24 and Moss is 25. So you got two guys that don't have a lot of tread. Well, Taylor actually has a lot of tread on his tires. Moss, who had to split time in Buffalo before, really doesn't have as much mileage on his legs as Jonathan Taylor does. So it's another question mark on like, why are you paying him so much money when I don't want to say you necessarily ran him into the ground, but you have used him a lot because you haven't had a quarterback that can actually help you win games or win because of that quarterback.
Yeah.
You leaned heavily on the run game.
And that is the way that the structure and finance stuff is set up. That is just how you do it with the running back on the rookie contract. You just kind of run him into the ground and then you don't pick it up after that. Like, it's kind of how it's gone for most of these guys. So, I don't know. He's talented. He's had success before. The contract actually wasn't, like, insane money, I guess. But
I think a lot of it was more up front, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it just didn't... I don't know. I don't really see what changed other than this whale that made this happen. Because it seemed like they were doing fine. I don't know.
For those of you wondering about the whale was, I believe it was in Florida or something along those lines, and Jim Irsay was going to pay to have this whale transported by plane
Free Willy.
To the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it was in the Sound, but it was somewhere in the Northwest, I want to say.
Yeah, and I've only kept up with the memes. I haven't followed the story closely
the whale
enough. But I know it didn't work
dead,
out. Well,
so,
I'm not one to say whether it's dead or not, but...
Well, I'm just saying
I'll leave that
plan
to the
is
whale
no longer
doctors.
happening. But, like, you look at other quarterbacks that are down right now in the NFL. Deshaun
that's what we were
Watson's
talking
out.
about, yes.
Deshaun,
Okay.
I know he's not the best, but, like, that's a starter that's out. P.J. Walker, though, turned that into a win.
My question is he out? There's been some weird reports. He was medically cleared, like, 2 weeks ago.
And I'm looking at a headline. He says, I can't put a timeline on it.
Yeah, he said that.
No. Yeah, he is medically cleared. It's a mental hurdle for him, it sounds like, on whether or not he...
shocking. Wouldn't have expected that from a player like him.
Right.
And I don't want to talk about him at all for obvious reasons, but there's some weird stuff going on there.
Yeah. What else? That I mean, like you mentioned, Kyler Murray's going to be somewhat coming back. He started practicing,
but like the Christian McCaffrey and Debo both went out for the Niners this week, and it cost them.
Jimmy G is out for the Raiders too.
Jimmy G cannot, like, every other week. It's killing me.
That's
as a guy who has Jacoby, who only works when Jimmy G's out there. It's annoying when he keeps not being out there. Ryan Tannehill got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Luckily, he's on bye this week, so he might have some time to get back into it.
Yeah, but Justin Jefferson just went out last week. Yeah. Tyreek Hill was kind of dealing with some stuff. DK Metcalf was dealing with some stuff. So, it's unfortunate. It's kind of becoming that season. Guys are starting to drop a little bit here and there. But, yeah, the quarterbacks is obviously the most effective stuff.
I want to ask sort of off-the-wall question right now.
Okay.
Now.
Bong. Okay.
Rookie you thought was going to succeed, but has not lived up to an expectation yet so far.
Well, this is great because I also wanted to talk about this. I haven't watched a ton, but it seems like right now we're kind of there with Bryce Young. And the big
You're already ready to write him off as a bust, huh? He's got nobody to work with. There's no offensive line. His running back is like 27th in the league.
As somebody who was murdered by Adam Thielen and Chuba Hubbard this last week, I can't totally say that.
Yeah, so Thielen's a nice surprise, by the way. He's got some mileage.
More the thing, I guess, is there was this kind of quote going around from Frank Reich, who was basically saying, like, the owner, man, you know how owners are. He wanted to come down and he wanted to make the pick. And I have conversations with him every week. I'm paraphrasing. It was similar to this. Those aren't always the best meetings to have. And he was basically just strongly alluding that he picked Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. And he was kind of seemingly sad that he didn't get C.J. Stroud. And then there was this other video when C.J. Stroud went and visited with them where he was talking with everybody in a huddle and talking with Josh McCown. And Josh McCown was like, yeah, man, well, you play basketball? Yeah, I got a hoop. Yeah, when you're in Carolina, we'll play. And it's like, oh, geez. So I think there's clearly some hurt feelings there and some owners making some decisions maybe the coach didn't want. And I know he doesn't have anything around him. For me, it's more what people are saying and what is obvious is the size. It's like Johnny Manziel-esque where it's like...
He even looks smaller.
If you fall over and get hurt, like that collarbone's just going to like go.
Well, he's already missed games with injuries too.
He missed them early. But like you said, it's a terrible situation.
Like that's the toughest part about, because we talked about this in our fantasy group chat. Like how can you change the draft for the NFL to help players succeed? Because you're gonna have these exact situations where it is a very bad team. You traded up, your best asset in DJ Moore to move up.
And now you're in the market for a number one receiver.
For a top receiver. You're in the market for basically everything offensive.
Well, that trade is so insane too because they traded their first round pick next year.
Oh, I love it. No, I know.
I know you love it. I know you know it. It's just you are going to be bad again this year. Why would you do that?
Yeah, no, and I agree. And so it's just like you're always going to have that number 1 pick, number 2 pick with C.J. Stroud or whatever, or was he pick 3? I forget. But the Texans had the first 2 picks.
That's what makes this harder when C.J. Stroud is right over there succeeding so much on an equally bad team. Like,
I think he's got a few more weapons to work with than necessarily. Dameon Pierce was a good rookie last year. That's something you can build on.
About equal to Chuba.
Okay, your boy Tank Dell. When he's
hasn't been playing. Yeah, well, taking Tank Dell out of this equation because obviously if Tank Dell's involved, he has much more to work with.
But Stroud is
Thielen, Nico Collins, pretty similar. New head coaches, running backs are fine.
Stroud, I think, is elevating the players that he has around him.
That's the thing. Stroud is clearly an elevator, and it seems like clearly should have been the pick over Bryce Young is the main thing.
That's why I took him at fantasy.
That's why I took him at fantasy, which, luckily your owner or somebody didn't come down and make the pick on top of you and take Bryce Young instead or something like that.
No, we just took Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. But I don't think he's working with that much more, and I don't think Bryce Young is a total bust yet, but
it's not trending in the right direction, that's for sure.
It's not. And there's the size is worrying, and I don't know how much it'll get better if they don't have a first-round pick next year.
There are rumors, too, that they're ready to just start shipping people away. Offense and defense, whatever they can.
They just started this whole new rebuild.
Well, they got to get some draft capital back after giving away stuff. I mean,
honestly,
it's their own fault, their own hole that they dug themselves.
It's so bad.
It's just a bad franchise.
The owner came in and wanted to spend and wanted to get his guy, and it's like, congratulations.
I think that owner needs to realize that you just write your name on the paychecks. You don't actually make football.
Syndrome, it's the Suns owner coming in and saying, we're trading for KD. I don't care if it costs everything. And it's like, okay, you got KD. Like, you don't have any other players on the team really anymore. Like, it's 3 guys. And so it's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Mostly it doesn't. That's the guy I'm worried about. Do you have a rookie that you're more worried about than Bryce Young?
I don't know if I'm necessarily worried about it. I just thought we'd hear a bit more from them, and that was Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
I haven't heard his name almost never.
No. And I think it seems like the landing spot. They just have...
They got Lockett, they've got Metcalf, and you've got Walker who can help you on the ground.
Yeah, so he hasn't had enough reps or snaps to get in there, maybe if there were an injury or something. But we even going into the year, people knew that and still thought those 3 receiver sets or something, he'll be able to slide in, they'll work him in.
He'd be a great slot guy.
But it's been a lot slower than anyone anticipated, I think.
I gotta look up what some of his stats are, but
they don't come to you. You have to go looking for them, to say the least.
Definitely. I mean, what he's 2'8", 5'9", 1'5", 2, 6'9". So he hasn't even broke 7 points.
What's the snap percentage?
59, 56, 44, 53. His last week against Cincinnati was 72. He had 4 catches for 48 yards.
Which keeps going that
48
direction.
yards is his most production that he's had.
Sure.
But for everybody ranting and raving about him in college, which damn good player.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking that away from him. But you just haven't seen that production. And a lot of it goes to what you just said, he's got some people in front of him. The landing spot maybe wasn't necessarily the best.
Yeah, but you would have expected more like a Jordan Addison type line so far, where it's he's had games and moments, but even he's had just more opportunity, especially now with Jefferson out.
He's been a great rookie so far for Minnesota, and he's pairing up with Justin Jefferson, who you think would just be getting all the balls.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other guys. The Chargers receiver, Quentin Johnston hasn't done that much, and even with Mike Williams out now, maybe now that's how he gets more. The Chargers keep just adding jump ball guys. It seems like that's the only receiver they know how to add.
Yep.
Josh Palmer is the same thing. It's you're just drafting Mike Williams over and over again, which I guess is good insurance because he's going to get hurt at some point, but it's also a little limiting in that regard. So, I don't know. Lots of injuries, some rookies doing well, lots of people tanking. Hopefully my team's one of them. Boy, oh boy. Tough to watch. Speaking of tough to watch, it's probably time to maybe update the people on some sandbagging.
Oh, absolutely. We're 2 weeks out from the last time that we talked about fantasy sandbag, which I've been keeping up on an Excel spreadsheet. Week 5, going into it, we each had 2 wins, so it's pretty evenly matched. I ran away with it.
Yeah.
In week 5.
Yeah.
I had a bye week change. So Baker Mayfield was on bye for the Bucs. I picked up Ryan Tannehill. And then I had the Browns who were on bye, and I picked up the Bears defense. My total score that week, 57.94 points.
So low.
You had 80.58 points in week
Yeah.
5, and so I won for having the low score. Week 6 though, I was in hell, man. I had a couple buys, and then there were some late injuries, and so like if you look back at our text thread, I was like, I'm picking up this person this week. So
Yeah, I think you said I'm picking up this guy, and I was like, he's out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I picked up Miles Sanders originally.
Yeah, and then the next notification I got was like, he's not playing.
So I picked up Ramondre Stevenson, who had been
Which hurt.
sort of pedestrian.
But he actually had a good game.
He had a good game.
Shockingly.
Juju was out with a concussion, so I picked up Alan Lazard. And then Allen Robinson was on bye for the Steelers, so I picked up Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I had 3 different players, Will Lutz, Valdez-Scantling, and Ryan Tannehill, combine for .84 points. And you still won.
What?
You still won.
Is this just the Raheem Mostert effect?
Yes, he had 30.4 points. And I had 72 points overall. The man had almost half of my points.
Oh my
and
God.
the Bears defense surprisingly decided to do something, so they put up 16 points.
Yeah.
And then Stevenson had a modest 14.5.
Yes.
Surprisingly, Granson had 9.3, which was kind of shocking because he wasn't supposed to do anything.
Yeah. I'm thinking about picking him up in the real league right now. My tight ends are so bad. So that's not a good sign. Yeah, I'll take it. The Mostert thing is just carrying me until they get to a bye. I think I'll be okay. But your receivers are so terrible. I don't know. Hopefully I can start switching out some of these guys. Speaking of which...
Yeah, we have a couple buys this week. Panthers, Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Jets, and Titans are going to be on bye. Mind you, you won week 6 by a total of 1.08.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take it.
I'm going to have to change out Lazard because he's on bye with the Jets.
Right.
And Ryan Tannehill because the Titans are on bye. And then you have to find a new running back for Joe Mixon.
Yeah, that's the struggle.
I have decided to pick up Juju again in replacing of Lazard on bye. I don't know.
He'll be out again.
Well, he's already back practicing. I already checked.
Well, he's not good enough to play, so maybe they'll just sit him out. Is that an option?
I don't think so.
Please. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. I got a running back option, but I would like to find somebody, I was going to say better, but worse, if possible.
I'm going to pick up Daniel Jones.
Whoa, okay.
He only has one game where he's gotten
good.
double-digit points, so that's going to be
good.
my quarterback for Sandbag this week.
Okay. Yeah, I need to somehow reverse filter this, so I need lowest scores. Yeah, I'm thinking about like a Najee Harris as a big name bad guy for the season kind of pick, but I'm just seeing if there's anybody else here I can maybe switch that for. But most of these other guys are actually good. So yeah, I don't know. I'll take Najee.
Najee Harris?
Najee Harris. I'll keep the...
I was thinking about picking him up too.
Games.
So, because he has not done anything. So our lineups this week, I've got Daniel Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Raheem Mostert, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I love those hyphenated names. Kylan Granson, the Bears defense, and then Will Lutz as my kicker.
Yeah, your points per name is like pretty low based off that.
Yeah, right? You've got Russell Wilson. You're picking up Najee Harris for Joe Mixon, who's going to go on bye. DeAndre Swift, Darnell Mooney.
DeAndre Swift's killing me.
Michael Thomas, Kyle Pitts, the Cardinals defense, and then Daniel Carlson, because you had Anders Carlson for the first few weeks, who's the brother of Daniel Carlson.
Which I didn't realize.
Really? I thought we had talked about that before.
No, yeah, and what I said was I swear to God, I thought I had Daniel Carlson these last 3 weeks.
Oh, the first week we did it, we were looking for rookie kickers.
Yeah, this shows how much I remember doing that and how, confident I was with that pick that I immediately forgot I had done it.
Well, yeah, Carlson was on bye last week, so
Yeah.
you picked up the brother Carlson.
Who did really well.
He actually did well, yeah.
So that was not a good choice. We'll see if it bites me again next time.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, I'm very confident in that Carlson kicker, I guess.
So
At least confident that that's the one I have.
that's what we have going into week 7. Each of us have 3 wins so far, though. So this is actually like a pretty tight race for Fantasy Sandbag.
Yeah, it is. Mostert's carrying me, and DeAndre
Killing
Swift
me.
is carrying you a little, and yeah, hopefully Juju. God, he got Juju back. That's so brutal.
I got the receiver bye.
He's so bad.
Yeah,
He's so bad.
It was that or going back down Robinson.
Could have just re-signed Jacoby Myers. So stupid.
Well, could you get him the ball then, though? That's
Yeah.
the thing. Could you?
Yeah.
Could Mac?
He's the only guy
I'm kidding.
who Mac could get the ball to.
I
That's
just
the
love
most
watching
annoying part.
the meltdown from somebody who's had so much success
It's
over the
good.
last few years.
That's all I can provide at this point. So that's good. That's just.
Well, here's what you can provide the people, Ray. It's our Nerd Corner segment. As we wrap up our show this week.
My other use. Here we go.
One Piece. The
Much teased.
What was an anime show they made live action on Netflix.
You're nailing it so far. Maybe I'll let you do this.
That's all I know.
Okay, well.
I know the guy wears a straw hat, maybe?
He does.
And a red shirt? Question mark?
He wears different shirts.
Okay.
But the red one is quite famous, I guess, as well. Yeah, I'm just here to inform you and inform the people about what this is, what this whole world is. The main crazy thing, though, is like, I don't know, maybe you should ask me and I should take you where you want to go. What are your questions
What is the
here?
start of this show? What's the main plot?
The main plot, do you want me to talk about anime in general first or dive right into the One Piece of it all?
I think you should dive into the One Piece.
Okay.
And then how does the anime differ from the live action?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, One Piece is kind of like maybe one of the most famous animes of all time.
Okay.
It's, I think, definitely the longest running anime and manga series of all time.
No?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's still running. It is over 1,000 chapters and 1,000 episodes of the anime. It's
so longer than Family Guy and The Simpsons?
I mean, they might catch up, but just a little bit. It's probably... God, how many episodes are there of The Simpsons? I still think there are more One Piece episodes, but that's like kind of comparable, probably. So yeah, it's the longest running thing in anime, basically. It's kind of one of the goats of anime, although I hate using that word as a plural.
the goats.
But it is basically an anime about a young pirate who goes out on the seas, collects a crew, and wants to find the One Piece, which is actually a thing.
Do we know what that thing is?
In the setup of the show, it opens up with a famous pirate, Gold Roger, who's being executed by the Navy and the world government, or whatever you want to call it. And at his execution, he looks up to the crowd of people and says, or somebody in the crowd yells out, "Where's your treasure, Gold Roger?" And he says, "It's out there in the sea. I left it all in one piece. Go find it." And then they do him in, and you fade out. And that's what starts like this great pirate era.
So everybody's trying to find
everyone
his
goes,
treasure.
holy, all of his treasure is out there in one piece. So it's actually like a great name. It's kind of awesome.
It's more than just like when you say One Piece, I'm thinking it's like one tiny object or whatever, but it's all encompassing basically.
It's the one big piece of treasure that is supposedly out there, and like nobody really knows if even what he was saying was true, but it's inspired all these people to go out to sea and try to find it and make their own story and have adventures and that kind of thing.
I don't want to cut you off. 1,087 episodes for One Piece.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Combined Simpsons and Family Guys is 1,200. So Simpsons only has 755 episodes, even though they started in 1989.
Sure.
So, yeah, no kidding. One Piece just putting out episodes since 99.
And because, Simpsons, you're doing 20-ish episodes every year. I'm not exactly sure the schedule of One Piece, but it's like there's like a fall and a winter anime season. It's basically kind of always happening. Like
There's no downtime.
They don't really. They might take a couple breaks here and there, but it's like their seasons are longer than 20 episodes. I'll tell you that. Some of the more modern new animes are a little bit more normal like that. It'll be a 24 episode season. And One Piece is kind of off to its own side. So I'm not
I
really
was gonna say I'm looking at this right now.
Careful.
Everything is. I'm no spoilers or anything. Everything is just season 1. There's no. It's not like broken up into anything because it says
the thing.
Season 1, episode 1062 came out on May 21st, 2023.
So it's different as well because there are sort of seasons and it's more.
I'm sure it's like story arcs.
Yes,
right?
with anime, it's more and manga. It's more broken up into arcs of things. It's like here is this. So basically, that's the premise of One Piece, and you're following this young pirate adventurer as he goes and finds his crew and puts them together and goes to this place called the Grand Line, which is like where all the pirates go to, and that's where all the adventures happen. But you kind of got to work your way up to that level to get there, kind of thing. So this
gotta get some notoriety to yourself.
Yeah, you need to get some bumps and bruises and realize if you're actually cut out for it, because it's a pretty cutthroat place.
To be a pirate?
Yeah, can you imagine? So this live action Netflix adaptation is basically taking all the stuff leading up to them getting to that Grand Line. It's him forming his crew. It's a very good premise for a show, just as far as starting it, because it's like, here's your main character, Monkey D. Luffy, Straw Hat Boy.
Hell of a name.
Hell of a name. He's got in this world there is something called the Gum Gum fruits, or sorry, the devil fruit. There's lots of devil fruits all over.
The Gum Gum fruit.
The Gum Gum fruit is the one that Luffy eats, which turns him into a rubber man, which is what it sounds like.
That sounds kind of dope.
It's pretty cool for him. But basically, there's all these little random fruits all around the world. There's only one of each kind of fruit.
Oh, so there's no more Gum Gum fruit after the guy ate it?
There's only one Gum Gum fruit, and he ate it. So there's lots of other fruits. There's like a chop fruit, or like a sort of a
My mind is
cloud-based fruit.
Makes me think you've got knives for hands for the chop fruit.
Something like that.
Ooh.
Even a little crazier than that, I would say. One of the issues with this was it gets very outlandish and wild, as you would imagine in some of the later episodes.
Anime and
yes, even for anime.
Oh,
it's
really? Okay.
Pretty. There are characters who are like 15 feet tall sharks standing next to 6 foot human, next to a squid man.
So Optimus Prime standing next to a human.
Yep.
I'm trying to think.
There is sort of an Optimus
height-wise.
Prime character. It goes all over the place, and obviously the live action is kind of evened those things out.
Yeah, you can only do so much
as is necessary. But yeah, so there's these fruits all over. There's one kind of fruit, and once it's gone, basically you eat the fruit, and it's this kind of lore. This is a very big world building show. That's what's so interesting about it, and daunting about it, because you look at it and you're like 1,000 episodes. Absolutely not.
How long are these episodes?
Basically 16 to 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Those are pretty easily digestible.
They're a little more bite-sized. That's why you end up binging a bunch in a row, or like watching an arc or half an arc or something.
Netflix then?
It's on Netflix. Oh, you're talking about the show?
The live action.
The live
is that
action
like an hour
show
episode or?
Yeah, they're 8 basically hour-long episodes.
Okay.
So
you're thinking about 3 normal episodes into one Netflix episode.
Maybe even 4.
Yeah, so you're looking at around like 24 to 30 episodes worth of content from the original show, maybe?
Ish. It's probably covering about 60, but it's only including probably about 30.
Okay.
Or something. Like, it obviously has to cut a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And do it.
Hopefully it's a big enough hit they can make more and all that stuff.
I mean, that's the good thing. It actually kind of seems like they pulled off the impossible and pulled it off. Because the other big thing, as far as I've talked about a little bit of the world, and it's great, the gum gum fruit, whatever. The cool thing about it, I think, is once you eat one of these fruits, the sea basically hates you, and you can no longer swim or like even really move or use any of your abilities if you're in the ocean.
As a person. If you're on a ship, you can still sail,
yes,
right? Okay.
But if you fall in the ocean, you're basically just going to sink like a rock, and you can't move, and you'll drown. So it makes it a little difficult to be a pirate sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of water out there. So that, obviously comes into play
that
multiple times.
That does cover a lot of the world.
Yeah. So that's just sort of an interesting aspect to it, to those people with those powers, to sort of balance these things out. But the big thing is, anime is like near unadaptable to live action, I would say. Like there have been attempts in the past. Some of the Western stuff we've seen have been like there was a Dragon Ball movie. I of course have never seen it because it's
never seen it.
Terrible.
Yeah.
The big one that is sort of not exactly an anime was the Avatar: The Last Airbender adaptation that M. Night Shyamalan did, which was horrible.
Yeah.
And that's
why was that one so bad? It just didn't really stick to the story.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay, so M. Night's just not the director for it.
Literally like the peak of his really bad movies too. That was right after The Happening and like some of those other ones, and so it was not. He was not the guy to do it. It was not really adaptable in a hour and a half movie, I would say. Like they basically, I don't know, they tried to take probably 15 episodes of the first season or something. I don't know. And that one's like not even that hard to adapt. It's not that outlandish in a lot of its stuff. It's sort of just like a medieval magic world or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen the original show.
And it holds up and it's great. And so stuff like that is sort of the more famous horrible things. One of the more recent ones was Netflix also did a Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, I heard about that.
Live action adaptation.
But that didn't go so well.
Which I heard was not good and ended up not watching it. There was a lot of hype around it when they were doing some promo materials because it actually looked like kind of all right, but
they had some decent names attached to it
too. Yeah, John Cho I think and a couple other people, but apparently that one didn't really get it so well. It didn't work very well. I haven't ended up watching it. So this has basically been like the big white whale of anime for years. Is like it's just a lot of anime obviously is very anime and so kind of outlandish ridiculous that it doesn't really transition well to live action. So here we come to the One Piece live action, which is like the golden baby of all anime. And everyone is basically like horrified that it's gonna be what every other live action adaptation has been. And the trailers like look, there's a lot of silly looking stuff. It's in broad daylight. You're not hiding your CGI or your sets quite as well. And I was like pretty worried going into it. There's some Fishman people who look pretty silly in the trailer. Don't really make a lot of sense.
I mean, here's what I'll say about that.
Yes, Fishman opinions.
They did a good job of making fish like people in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
like, it
man.
could be done well enough in live action. I mean, like, you look at...
God, I love those movies.
Yeah, the first three.
First three.
Yeah, first three, of course. But, like, yeah, you've got the Flying Dutchman and all those people on that ship. Like, those are all...
Bootstrap Bill, all of them.
They all have some type of characteristic of the sea that is on them.
The guy with the like conch head that like falls off in the second one and he has to run around and grab it and it's on backward. Yeah, great movie. They didn't even go as much like sort of CGI elements I guess as that did either. They largely went practical.
Okay.
I think I would have been curious to see like if they'd gone that route. It might have, if there was some kind of equivalent of that Davy Jones character in this, it probably would have looked a lot better. It ends up most of the stuff ends up working for what this show is. They do a good job of kind of setting the tone with a lot of their production design. It almost feels kind of like some Wes Anderson movies when he's doing like the little model work or something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, this looks fake, but it's serving the story and it makes sense in this world and it kind of works. And so they do a good job of kind of creating that atmosphere in the show. So by the time you get through like half of it and you start getting to the fishmen and some of the more ridiculous stuff, it actually like works. And surprisingly, obviously, or maybe not obviously, I don't know, Monkey D. Luffy, the main guy, is a rubber man. So a lot of his stuff is like stretching his arm out 50 yards backwards.
So Mr. Incredible.
And slingshotting it. Yes. Yeah, slingshotting it back or blowing up as a big balloon to like bounce a cannonball off of himself.
Elastigirl.
Yes. You know, there's lots of... You get it. But the thing that works with that is that when CGI looks bad, it looks rubbery.
Okay.
Which actually
it works
makes
for him.
Sense.
Yeah.
Because he's a rubber man. So like a lot of that stuff I kind of was able to like let them get away with it because I'm like, wow, that looks rubbery. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that looks rubbery. Oh yeah.
Well, he is rubber man.
Okay, actually that works. Basically though, I was kind of blown away. It works fantastically well throughout, like the entire show, I'll say, was great. And I'm shocked by it. There was a couple dud episodes, I guess I would say, and there were definitely some things they changed from the manga and the anime that didn't work as well, and some things that they had to change, and some things that I don't think they had to change that they just kind of missed on. But overall, like the biggest thing about this show is they just nailed the casting of all the main characters of his crew. Like they nailed it. They nailed the casting of Luffy, as well as all of his side characters like Sanji and Zoro. Usopp is like perfect, and Nami does a great job. So that was like kind of the thing they had to nail, and then everything around that I also think works really well. But if they didn't have that, none of it works. And they nailed it, and I'm actually kind of shocked. And yeah, the first episode is a great pilot, and it does its job great. If you're not into it by then, I think you'll probably know if you're not or you are. But if you're into it after that first one, it's absolutely worth watching all 8.
Dumb question. Is it in English?
It is.
Okay.
What's actually kind of annoying is it's they don't have like, so they did a Japanese dub of it with the people who do the voices for the Japanese anime, but it's not like available on our Netflix. So that's a bummer. I mean, maybe you do some VPN stuff, you can get it. Maybe that I'd be curious to watch it. I myself, this is a big thing in anime, the dub or the sub, whether you're watching it in Japanese or in English or in Japanese with subtitles. I kind of go back and forth in a lot of series. It kind of depends on like ease of access or what is there. With something like One Piece, I've been watching it dubbed in English because there are over 1,000 episodes, and it's one of those like it's on, I'm doing this, it's over here, I'm doing this. So I'm not as familiar with the Japanese dub, so I'd be curious to kind of see what that looked like. But yeah, it's all in English, and it works pretty. I'm just like kind of shocked. This feels like the first time they've ever pulled off the live action adaptation of an anime, which just doesn't happen. And for it to be this one, which is like maybe the wackiest one,
the holy grail of anime.
That too. Like now, I will say that the stuff they're going to, because this show is a success, and they've actually already said they're doing more. So the very next stuff they get into is immediately going to be a lot harder to adapt. So I'm very curious. There's a character. It's not like spoilers to say it. There's a character named Chopper in the coming stuff who is like basically like a knee-high little teddy bear guy with a hat and reindeer antlers. So that I'm very curious what direction that goes. Is that a puppet? Is that CGI? Is that Rocket the Raccoon?
Is he actually a teddy bear?
He's a reindeer. He's a knee-high reindeer with a hat on.
Okay.
And he just has...
Makes me think of
Look up a picture of Chopper. It's just like a little cute stuffed animal bear with a hat and reindeer antlers. So it's like, I'm curious how they adapt that. So that's going to be a big thing, but there was some stuff in this I didn't think they'd be able to adapt. Like Buggy the Clown is one of the villains they meet early on. He's actually like fantastic in this show.
That's a CGI look.
That actually doesn't look bad. That doesn't look bad because I think he's got to be cute, but he can be horrifying real quick if you're not careful.
If he's in a bad mood.
I mean, he can too, but I just mean you can mess up that design very quickly as well. Okay. He can like change his form, like he can get into a big mean looking reindeer or whatever too. So it's like it's a lot of complicated stuff with that. But the cool thing about this is I think, and this is actually kind of, I was thinking about this on the way in and realized that there's some things that relate to another show that we'll talk about eventually, Ahsoka. Oh, yeah. But this is a fantastic. If you've never seen One Piece and you're interested, I would say you can just watch this Netflix show and see if you're into it. And then if you are, make the life-altering decision of whether or not you should watch the actual thing or read the actual thing, which is, like I said, when I got into anime around like COVID and stuff, and I've gotten more into it, and One Piece was something I watched a little bit of and was interested in it and liked the world, and I was like, I can't wait to watch him find the One Piece. This will be great. And then I realized, oh my god, there are another 900 episodes of this and it's still running. And I basically like kind of was out for like a couple years. I was looking into other anime spaces and
it's too much at
watching
one time.
those. I was like, I'll never finish it and it's never going to go anywhere. Recently I've come back around, like basically a year ago. I started watching it again because I found a couple like reviewers who were doing like arc reviews, so it made it a little more digestible. Because that's the other thing is I'm so much in a silo of just like, I watched this thing. All right, no, I don't know anyone talking about that thing or whatever. So anyways, I came back around to it, and the actual fact that it's so long is actually kind of encouraging from a world building perspective, because you're just like, there's this, the author's name is Oda, and he's constantly like setting stuff up in like these first 60 chapters, and then he'll just like set it there. And then he'll come back to it in like 400 chapters and bring this character back and like turn it on its head or do something different with it. So it's like, it's kind of insane. I've never like actually experienced some kind of, I don't want to call it content, but like storytelling like this.
Yeah.
Where it's so in depth with so much going on. So if you were to make that decision, like that's a big decision. But I would say you can just watch this 8-episode Netflix show and get the idea of why people are into it and like it. And then you can just leave it there if you want. But it does a very good job of introducing you to the characters and what they were like from the anime and the manga, which is something that Ahsoka was trying to do with these rebel characters, translating them from animation and getting you to be interested in them without having watched Rebels or Clone Wars. And that show does not do a good job of that at all.
Yeah, I still need to do my recap of never seeing those anime shows, or animated shows, excuse me. So seeing Ahsoka.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about Ahsoka at some point, but in that respect, where these two shows are trying to sell you on some animated characters that you haven't seen before and giving you actual reasons in this show to be invested in them, like it completely blows Ahsoka out of the water, which is not really even attempting to do that in my opinion. It's basically just like, you get it, right? Hope so, because we're moving on. You like these characters already, right? Because I'm not going to give you any reasons to like them in this show. Okay. But One Piece was great. I was shocked it was great, and I basically started reading the manga after I finished the show because I'd never read that, and it's accessible on Shonen Jump, which I have. So I basically have now read through the manga of all those of the sections of these first 8 episodes, and yeah, it's also fantastic. There's a couple moments that they leave out that really make me mad, and maybe someday we'll talk about those, but.
Sounds like a book's better than the
book. There was a key part to an arc, and at the very end that they just didn't include, and I was like, that actually was kind of an important part of that story, and they were right there, like they walked right up to it, and then kind of kept going, and I was like, no, that you need that. No, you actually need that. That's an important part of the emotional journey here. You need that. Okay, they're punching. So. No. Some stuff they couldn't do. Obviously, it's 8 episodes to cover 60 chapters or whatever, so there was always going to be some stuff like that. But it was pretty great, and the cast was great, and they actually somehow pulled it off, which I can't believe. Crazy kids. Any
other thoughts for the Nerd Corner?
I mean, yeah, I got enough Ahsoka digs in there, I think, to last me for a while. That show ended recently, and just. Actually, I can't even really say it ended because it didn't. The season stopped, but the story was not finished at all in any way. So, I guess see you next time.
Yeah, you said that was probably leading into a movie or something like that.
I bet they better, because they didn't do anything in this show. They just set up, and then the most annoying part is they had 2 villains in the show, which were the 2 most interesting parts of the show, because the rest of the characters aren't barely even characters. They're just cartoons, which, is kind of fitting in a way. But yeah, they had these 2 bad guy characters, and they just didn't finish. They just weren't a part of the finale at all. So I guess maybe next season they'll have a story, because I still don't even know what they want. They didn't even get around to that. I don't know what they want. I don't know why they're there. I don't know where they're going.
Seems like it wasn't good enough to probably get a second season. It'll just be empty.
But it will. Oh, it 100% will, though.
Okay.
Because this is the direction Star Wars is going in now. Like, this guy's kind of running it now, I guess, which is weird because he's like George.
About Dave Filoni?
I am. He's like George Lucas. He's got some big ideas. He's got some interesting things. Can't write dialogue for shit at all. Can't have people talking about things, which ends up being a lot of a show. Yeah, there's a lot of talking. So, and it was like the Super Mario movie. Every time someone opened their mouth, I was just like, oh, no. No, please stop. Please stop. So, boy, I don't... Andor Season 2.
Yeah, that's the last hope right now for some of these Star Wars shows,
I had to start rewatching Andor to make myself feel better, and I need to finish Visions. I don't know if you've ever seen Visions.
Never even heard of it.
Visions Season 1 is fantastic. This is great, and this is just going to turn into an anime corner now. Oh. It's a Star Wars thing. They basically gave the Star Wars license to a bunch of different anime creators and had each of them make their own little 20-minute episode of Star Wars with their own anime art style, and they're all like wildly different.
Okay.
So there's like 7 episodes in the first season. They're all like 15 minutes. There's some awesome ones in there that look great and are fun. I started watching the second season, and it's like, God, this is so good. So there's some really good stuff in there.
My one nerd corner thing I'm looking forward to doesn't come out till November. It's season 4 of For All Mankind. Have you watched that show or no? It's like an alternate.
Is this an Apple show?
It's an Apple show. It's an alternate timeline where Russia beats the U.S. to the moon in the space race.
Okay.
And
it's like A Man in the High Castle was for Nazis.
Sort of, yes,
something.
but like a lot more tension to it. And like each season you progress further in time. So like first season is just like getting to the moon.
Sure.
The next season is building a colony on the moon like 20 years later.
So is it just
then it's Mars, and this we don't know. Then we don't know what like Mars was season 3.
It's still like Cold War vibes though.
Very much. Okay. Very much.
But
it's like the Cold War never ended.
Space race. Oh, that's actually interesting.
And then season 4, like I haven't even seen the trailer yet. They just released it a few days ago because they couldn't do anything with writers and all that stuff on strike.
Yes.
So now season 4 is coming out in November, and I'm pretty pumped about that one. So that's my one little nerd corner contribution. I would say watch that one. There's some pretty solid episodes in there.
Might have to. There's another sci-fi show on Apple. It's like Foundation or something.
Foundation, yeah.
I haven't seen. But
haven't seen that one. Or Silo. Or Invasion.
Haven't seen that one. Mythic Quest is good on Apple. I saw that.
Haven't seen that one.
That's the Rob McElhenney video game show with the Rickety Cricket. I can't not call him that every time.
The setting of that show just makes me think of Grandma's Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like a couple older people working in a video game place.
Very much.
I haven't seen the show yet, though, so I can't give it a true assessment. Any final thoughts on this episode as we wrap this one up?
I think we said all that could be said. Hopefully both our teams will just keep losing. Hopefully my team will keep losing. I can't say that for you.
Good representation.
Yeah. Jules. Last receiver that we drafted who was any good, who we kept on the team. Jacoby Myers.
R.I.P. You know. Dick Butkus passed away, so I had to give him a little bit of love in this episode as well. Yeah. Actually, one of the 2 Bears things I actually own. The other one being...
Really?
That hat.
That's plenty for you?
That's it. They've been pretty bad.
Well, you get the 1-2. Next year you'll have a Marvin Harrison hat and a Caleb Williams jersey. You'll be good.
We'll see. I
will.
I have a hard time buying current jerseys because people just leave all the time. So
yeah.
It's tough.
I feel that.
That's Ray Bradley. I'm Brian Syke. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Sportslandia, brought to you by Next Professional Athlete.